Hey, Tom, I see you there. Let's invite you up. This is not the smartest guys in the room. Today, we're going to talk about how to scale your business, grow your team. That's my understanding. So, how have you been, Tom?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Cranking along. Yeah. So this is a little bit of a change, I guess. Clubhouse is uh, changing things up on us a little bit, and the format is a little bit different. So I had to like find the room this morning a little bit differently. The way we started things is a little bit different, but we're here. We're here. That's the important thing. And yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I wonder what people think about the new ways to find the rooms and everything like that. Is it like I'm almost seeing the app going back to where it was 2 years ago with more live rooms, or at least remember there was this big switch about a year ago where they're like, oh, it's going to be all voice messaging. And now it seems like they're going back to live rooms, except it's almost like you just push live to start. So I wonder um, if there's some kind of reset with them.
Yeah, I have no idea. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm on Clubhouse for an hour every week, and it's from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time here in Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, and that's it. That's the only time I spend on Clubhouse, and I don't even Clubhouse is just how we sort of host the conversation. So for me, it's a means to an end, and the app itself is like kind of immaterial to me. If we had to figure out another way to do it, we would just figure out another way to do it.
Right, which we often talk about. Should this go the way of Buffalo or something like that? Well, then we believe in these conversations. We believe we're adding value. So we will keep trying to do it wherever we can do it in as many places as we can do it. So not the smartest guys in the room. We'll share the room around. Mr. Swift, John Jay, how you doing? Our LinkedIn friends, anybody watching, streaming our live anywhere. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about growing. One of the things we're going to talk about is growing your team. Well, so just to start on this, for me, it's even, God, I don't want to go political, but I see as the new administration comes in that he's picking a lot of people he trusts or that have been there for a long time with him. Okay. That's it. For me, if I was building a team, anytime I build a team a lot based on trust, a lot based on people that have delivered for me, people that I never ask people to like jump giant hurdles or climb giant walls. I say, what can you do and do that good? I'm not asking for like these, like spend 24 hours a day. I'm going to say, you said you could do this. You are good at that. That's all I want from you. If you can, um, take it farther, go ahead. In the nonprofit world, one of my mentors told me one time, she said, if somebody can do and wants to do, get the hell out of their way. And so I believe in that as well. Like if they've shown you over and over that they can do, get the hell out of their way and let them do. So that's, for me, that would be the starts of building a team. Tom, let's hear it from you since this was your subject, and then let's get to these guys. Let's see what's going on today.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, look, I think especially for entrepreneurs, right? Building a team, scaling your business, hiring folks to help you expand and grow your brand is daunting. It's challenging for a lot of people. And it can be scary, I think, for a lot of folks too, when it comes to taking that leap. Because it's one of those things like now, not only are you accountable for yourself, right, and accountable to your clients, but you're adding to the list of people you're accountable to because you are now accountable also to that person, that employee who you've entered into an agreement with, right? That person that you've hired to be a part of your team trusts that you will fulfill your end of the bargain, right? Every week when it's payday, right? They're confident you're going to fulfill your end of the bargain when it comes to helping them realize growth potential or raises over time, expanded earning potential, things like that. So it's daunting and scary. I've spent about the last year, I think maybe more than a year, looking to start the process of growing Talex Media and adding team members and bringing folks on. And there's a couple of different sort of roads I went down in the pursuit of that. I just hired a new team member, a new business development legendeer, and she is working with me part-time as an independent contractor, setting her own hours, things like that, because I really feel that my job as a leader, or as the sort of leader of Talex Media, is to give her everything that she needs to excel, and then get out of her way and let her excel, right? And I think that's one of the scary things for entrepreneurs, is we're so used to having to do everything ourselves that it's very difficult for a lot of people to step back and let other people do and contribute to the team. So that's one part of the struggle that I think a lot of people face. The other side of it is, or another aspect to it, is that when it comes to hiring and scaling your team, often people get really caught up in looking for someone that is sort of the ideal employee in a box, right? They want somebody off the shelf who has every single skill they could possibly imagine needing in someone, so that on day one, they can, quote unquote, hit the ground running. And I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. I've heard many people say over the course of my career that you should always hire for the individual, for the person, for who they are and what they bring to the table as a person, rather than for the specific skill set, right? At the end of the day, what I was looking for and what I found in this person that I've just brought on to work with me, is somebody who believes in the mission, somebody who is excited to help Talex Media grow because she wants to see the same change that I want to see, right? She wants to help businesses communicate more effectively. She wants to help humanize the world of business. And so that's the person I want. Does she have some of the skills that I was looking for? Absolutely. Does she have every single skill that I could possibly imagine wanting or needing in someone right out of the box? No, but that's great. Like, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, the fact that she believes in what she's doing, that she believes in the broader mission of Talex Media, means that she is going to do better at her job, that she is more likely to excel than someone who had a more developed specific skill set, who maybe didn't really care about what they were doing, or was only showing up for the paycheck, right? Or only showing up for the commission. So that's what I was looking for, was somebody who believed in the mission. I finally found someone where all of the other sort of logistical pieces lined up to make it work. And so we just started working together. But I think those are some of the challenges that people face, is hiring for the right reasons, actually letting people that they hire or that they subcontract to do their jobs, and getting out of their way and just giving them all the tools and the resources they need to excel, rather than trying to micromanage the work that they do. So that's where I'm at. That was kind of my thinking with what we're going into today. Was, I know I faced a huge amount of challenges in accomplishing this, and getting to just to hiring that first person, right? Just to reaching an agreement with that first person. So I know if I was facing challenges with that, I can't possibly be alone. I'm sure other people face challenges with it too. So I thought it was worth talking about.
No, true that, Tom. Good point. I'll tell you, this is so true to me. Like, even this morning, I try to be in most of the communication. I'll try to be in all the communications between authors and anything going on at Motivation Champs. I want to be in that line of communication, tagged, copied in. And a lot of times I will filter the conversation. That's how I see my role. A lot of times, filter, make sure everybody is clear, that somebody didn't say something they should have, both ways, This morning, somebody asked on like, we build author websites from time to time. And one of the guys asked, "Oh, can I talk to so and so directly? You don't need to be the middleman." And it did give me poise, but my issue, they wanted to talk to Lan, who's like my final set of eyes and ears on everything we do. Well, I trust Lan with everything. So with every password, with everything, that the final thing that goes out everywhere. So in this case, I'm like, yeah, here's email. You guys talk. You don't need me anymore. So I would say my friend Jim just dropped in. Chris, Brandon, how you guys doing today? Julie, what's up? Jim, I just mentioned that Lynn is the final set of eyes and ears on everything that goes through Motivation Champs. And Jimmy has seen it because we do a lot together, that like she just comes in a lot of times and like organizes everything, or like gets what I'm trying to say. Sometimes might yell at me, or like in a way that I'm not always comfortable with, but I know coming from her, it's in love. It's in trying to have a beautiful finished product. It's in understanding where we're trying to go, like you said, as a company, as a brand, where you're trying to go. If something's not on brand or message, she'll be like, "Dominick, why the heck you do this like this? Or this is unorganized, or this is stupid. You could have saved time. You could have saved effort." So, all right, let's continue. Not the smartest guys in the room. Brian Swift, if you're bringing people on a team, if you're trying to expand, how do you know they're the right person to help with SOAR, help with your coaching business, help with a book, whatever it is?
Well, I think you guys nailed it. I think you go back to your pool of people that you know, that you trust, that maybe you've done business with. But as times I think they're changing. I mean, in the world now, I think we see a lot of people who do a lot of job jumping, and maybe that's because you can go from project to project, and you have a lot more independent contractors and people working now. But I think what really is going to make the future amazing are virtual assistants that you never knew, you never met. They're not even from around, that people are using, and I'm hearing more and more people using virtual assistants and having a lot of success. So I think that's going to make the world of building your business or whatever you're building, it's going to make it a little more interesting. I don't know if it's going to make it more complex, but I'm so far I've heard more good stories than bad stories with virtual assistants.
Virtual assistants, interesting one. Tom, that's something you thought of? Tom, John Jay, I think Julie uses those. Our friend Chris Cushing was here, who is a virtual assistant. So go on, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I think, VAs can be a great resource for people. It's not something I'm using right now or I've used in the past, but I anticipate kind of going that route in the future. If things work out from a business development perspective with my new hire, then yeah, I absolutely think that I'm going to end up needing the services of a VA. I actually have a VA service that comes highly recommended to me that I would consider working with. And yeah, I think there's a ton of value there. Really, when it comes down to just doing the administrative stuff that takes time, but isn't really a good use of your time if you are trying to steer a brand or a business, down the road. It's not necessarily the best idea to be under the hood at the same time as you're trying to drive the bus, right? So like, if you're trying to drive the bus, you gotta make sure your head's up and you're looking around, and you can't get bogged down in some of those administrative tasks. So I think VAs can be incredibly useful. Right now, I'm trying to drive more business, so I get to the point where I need a VA. Right. That's the sort of the near term goal. My hope is that over the next several months I will get there. But yeah, I think that's a great point that Brian made. Have you ever used one?
No, I have not. I'm not sure I completely understand it. So that's where I'm at. I hear people having good success. I don't know that I understand it enough to even reach out. We needed Chris Christian was here, and she's a fabulous VA, like comes highly regarded, and I know, but I don't know that. So that maybe somebody can clear it up for me. John Jay, do you use a VA or like? How do you get everything done, or how do you produce all the shows and package them yourself? Are there more people on the team? How do you do it all?
I do not use a VA, uh, and to be honest with you, most of the VAs I've heard don't have anything that I need. I do everything myself. As a matter of fact, I'm working on audio right now, mixing it down. We'll send it to the radio syndicator later on this afternoon. I do social media myself. I do everything myself because I have time to. My biggest problem with hiring people is this. For example, there's two areas that I'm really targeting for hiring. One is sales, someone that can actually sell and enrich themselves and enrich what I do to increase other revenue streams in addition to what I do. So that's number one. Number two is going to be search engine optimization to increase discoverability on search engines. So someone can do that. My biggest problem is finding people that realizing they do not have my work ethic. They don't own the business. They're not invested in it the same way as I am. I'm looking for someone like me that's going to treat it like their baby. And I know they exist, and the ones that do will be fabulously wealthy and do really well. But and I'll be quite blank, there's a lot of posers out there that want to get paid and have no experience, or they don't deliver, or they have no intention of delivering. And I just don't have time to waste doing that because I'm busy enough with other stuff. So my biggest problem is finding people that knowing that they don't have my work ethic, but will produce. That's the biggest problem I have.
John, would anybody ever have your work ethic? You're like the Michael Jordan of radio and podcasting. So I go on.
My wife does. She works for someone else, and it's leading to a partnership. She treats it like it's her business. There's other people. I have relatives that do the same thing. There are plenty of people that when they see the opportunity, and one of the things that Tom said is, I reward people with skin in the game. They get a percentage of what the company does, what the product does, in addition to their base salary. That's where you find those people. My problem is finding people that really, especially on this app, walk the walk and just don't talk it.
I mean, I think I hear what you're saying, John. And look, in an ideal world, everybody would, care about a brand, or everybody that worked for a brand or a business would care equally about that brand or business. But the truth of the matter is that that's very unlikely to happen, I think. Right. I believe I've often said, right. I've said this to people, and I talk about this in the context of how businesses try to communicate with their audiences. And what I say to them is, you have to think about your audience first. You have to think about it from their perspective, because no one is ever going to love your baby the way you love your baby, right? If your business is your baby, no one is ever going to love your baby the same way you love your baby, right? Like, just the same way, if you're a parent, no one is ever going to love your child the same way you love your child, right? Because it's your child and only your child, right? No one else has the exact same relationship with it, so they can't possibly care about it the same way that you do. So while I 100% believe that you can find people who subscribe to the mission, right, and who believe in the work that you're doing and are committed to the furtherance of that work or that mission, and I believe in giving people skin in the game and having them reap the benefits of their hard work, right, by giving them a percentage of revenue based off of the revenue that they bring in, that they generate for the brand or the business. I 100% agree with and believe in doing that. I also accept that this business development legendeer that I hired is never going to care as much about Talex Media or legendeering as I do. It's just never going to mean to her what it means to me, because it's my baby. I started it. I built it. I thought of it, right? I you know, for lack of a better term, I birthed it, right? It is my creation. And so no one's ever going to love it the way I love it. And I'm okay with that. I just want people to like it a lot, right? I'm okay if they don't love it the way I love it. I just want them to like it a lot, and maybe think it's cute. You know, I want them to
Agree
think my
with you
baby's cute.
100%. That's why I do everything myself, because quite honestly, when I find that person, I'll bring them on. Until that happens, I can find time to get done myself.
All right, come on. Okay, so since we have professional VA, Chris, I said I'm jumping over here. I said I really didn't understand. I get it, but I know you're an expert at it, Chris, and people swear by you. So would you mind telling us like what a good VA does, what a kick-ass VA like yourself does, and then what a VA who should be fired does? Chris, would you mind breaking that down for us?
I'm sure. Good morning, everybody. So, what a good VA does is just the basics, just what they're told to do, just to get by. Like if a client says, these are the 3 things that I need you to do every single morning before noon, and that's all they do is those 3 things, it's a good VA. They've done what you've asked them to do. Now, someone who should be fired is someone who does those 3 things, but only does it once a week instead of every day of the week, or doesn't do it at all, but tells you they've done it, submits the time showing that they've quote unquote done it, but you can clearly look and see that it hasn't been done. Then the, I don't know, exceptions to the rule, or the way I look at it, the rule it should be, is that you, as a VA, you are a partner in the success of your client. So that means that you should more than like what they do. You should be slightly obsessed with it, because I am. I have clients that do various things, but each thing they do is something that I'm passionate about or have a great interest about. So I get excited about it. So as that VA, I'm a part of that team. So I have one client who's actually going to be DaveCon. His name is Brian Torallo, and he is doing the graphic recording for David Meltzer's keynote speech. I am literally obsessed and fascinated with what he does, and also the kick-ass human being that he is. He shared his story with me about how he started this business, because he couldn't draw when he started. So now he's certified multiple times, and just does amazing work. And the really cool thing about it is the work that he does is the clients that he works with are in line with his values, which are aligned with my values. The relationship I have with him is incredible. And I think that if more people are willing to share their journey, share how they got it, share how they birthed that baby. This is the one thing that, started me into having my business, and sharing that story, I think would VAs get excited about it. And I also think that a big part of choosing the right VA for you is have a list of questions. Have a list of specific questions you want answered. And the questions should be formed in a way that you get a good feel of who that person, what that person looks like. So that when you're talking to them, within the first minute or two, okay, yep, this is going to work, or no, it's not. When I had my conversation with Brian, it was actually to do something completely different. It was only to handle his LinkedIn account. That was it. And within 10 minutes of having that conversation, he was like, look, I just need to hire you as my VA.
Hey, Chris. So, quick question for you: if you could just kind of like laundry list out for me, give me bullet points of like who needs a VA. Like, when is it the right time to hire a VA? Right? Like, kind of what? Just laundry list out like this person who has like XYZ things going on. Like that person needs a VA because this is what the VA is going to do for them.
Yep, great question. So, and it kind of varies. The most important thing is when you get to a point where you are doing things in your business that you don't enjoy doing and that keep you from doing the things that you love to do, like your passion, why you built this business, that's when you should get a VA. That's when you say, okay, these are the things I don't like to do. Like I don't like to do social media. I don't like to manage my mailbox, I don't like sending out proposals. Whatever those things are, that's the list of things that you should have a VA do, because you're going to find someone that enjoys doing those things. Then you can get back to doing the things that you love, and it's a win-win.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for that, Chris. I appreciate that. Now, Julie, our friend Julie, who's in the room, is somebody who has used a VA, right? So what I want to hear from you, Julie, what I'm curious about is, taking that idea that Chris just talked about, that all the things you don't want to do that maybe are sort of time sucks for you. What does offloading that work to a VA enable you to do as a business owner or an entrepreneur?
Great question, Tom. And what it does, it allows me to work on my business, not in my business, and be always forward thinking. So as Tom dearly knows, I'm something about Excel spreadsheets. Every time I have to do one, it's like so tedious and something I cringe at doing. So having a VA like Chris who can master that and just do it and take it over, I don't have to think about it. And I can be doing the things. I can be meeting the people. I can be creating the ideas. Can be creating partnerships. I can be doing high level thinking, 360-degree thinking, as opposed to just like, oh my God, I have to do another Excel spreadsheet. And then you like lose your joy too for what you're doing when you are in that mire of doing the tasks that you don't want to do. So I would say it allows me to work on my business, not in my business.
Does that answer your question, Tom? Have we gotten there?
Yeah,
do you know what a VA is now?
I came in this just enjoying you and John ticking each other back and forth, slightly disagreeing, but Chris cleared it all up for us, and I thank you very much.
What are the things, you guys, that you don't like to do? Like, I'd love to hear it, that you wish you could offload to somebody else. I think everybody on the stage has something.
Okay, let me go into this here. I feel like I entered business. I spent 20 years in sales basically, and have been involved in other businesses throughout. So for me, I expected all of this, like I expected the shit and the grind and the emails and the proposals. And so I don't now, could there now, Tom mentioned like growing today, and I was thinking scaling in general. Could there be duplication of things that I do that like to put out twice like, could I put out more, like, let's say just content? Could I put out more content with the VA? Probably, because if I'm putting out 300 pieces a week, could I put out 600? So John, I'm going to go to John on this. Like you said, you like Facebook and you like doing it. Me too. I don't mind it. Could you put out like 1,000 pieces rather than 500 if you had a VA, or would you think, that's not going to be on message?
I could, but it's about results. Do they deliver results? And to be honest, if a VA said I can do this, I can meet with you, we can share the vision. they can understand where I'm coming from, what I need, and they can produce results. We're going to have a happy relationship long term. That's the biggest time suck is my social media is the biggest time suck. But it's for me, it's the bottom line is always about increasing revenue, decreasing workload while increasing expenditures, but not increasing my revenue makes zero sense to me.
I think that makes sense, John. I mean, I would look at it from the terms of like, you know, for if I was going to have somebody take over like Facebook, right? If I were in your shoes and somebody said, "Hey, you know, you could be spending more time developing relationships with other radio stations to further, you know, the syndication of your program. That's a better use of your time." And I'm just making things up, right? I don't know if that's actually how the syndication system in radio works, but you know, if it were like you could be spending more time focused on getting on more radio stations, on furthering the syndication of your program, right? That's a better use of your time than drafting Facebook posts, right? What if a VA could, you know, you sit down with a VA, you give them, you know, you have them look over your profile to see all the posts that you've been putting out, right? And then you say, okay, in the vein of the posts that you see on my profile or in this group or in this community, I want you to start drafting posts, and ideally I want to post one a day or two a day or whatever your schedule is, and just have them start feeding you drafts. If now all you have to do is go through those drafts and say approve or disapprove, like yes or no, right? Or maybe make a minor tweak to the language or something, rather than having to start from scratch each time. Is that worthwhile, right? Does that mean that you can then focus more time on revenue generation?
Well, to be totally honest with you, it is another revenue stream for me that develops monthly revenue. If someone said they do 2 posts a day for me, we would have no conversation, because if I can get by with 4 posts a day, I'd have so much free time to do other things that I wouldn't need a VA. I do about 18 posts a day on Facebook alone. Other social media like LinkedIn, 2, sometimes 3. Other ones, 2 a day. So it's a constant thing. See, here's the problem I have, Tom. Most people, again, talk the talk, but they don't produce results because having an extra expense is not something I'm interested in.
Yeah, I totally get it. It's a, you know, it's a thing, you know, it's a debate that I had, and I've got very clear. I've gone into, you know, working with you know, my new teammate, my new team member, with a very clear mind, and this has been, you know, made very transparent that like the goal is that her job is going to produce dramatically more revenue than it takes, right? Like that her job exists solely to help expand Talex Media, the work that we do, and generate more revenue. And if that doesn't happen, then we're not going to keep working together, right? Basically, like that's the end all, right? If the revenue goals aren't eventually met, if we don't actually, you know, exceed, if revenue generation, if we don't stay in the green, if revenue generation doesn't exceed expenditure, it ceases to be, right? Now there's always a bit of a ramp up. It's not going to be an instantaneous thing. So I went into it with a very clear head, knowing that up front it was going to be very much tilted towards cost rather than revenue generation. But that initial cost I look at as an investment in future revenue generation. And my hope is that ultimately it'll pay off over time. But you know, there's no guarantees, but you know, the relationship is very clear. You know, like I said, you know, our relationship is that of you know, a company and an independent contractor. And if things don't work out, we will stop working together. It's very, very straightforward. So yeah, I hear you, but I think from my perspective, I had to just take the leap and understand that I was going to have to spend a little bit of money to ramp up someone to help me generate more revenue, and that there was going to be a little bit of cost up front just like there is with anything in business, right? There's always kind of a barrier to entry. There's always an initial cost. But the goal is that the revenues will far outstrip the costs that you face initially. So that's the hope. I mean, I'm curious to hear what Dom's buddy Jim, who's just come up to the stage, what he thinks about bringing someone on to generate revenue. I know you work in sales, Jim. So how do you think about that, or am I thinking about that the right way? Would you give me any advice about how to think about my relationship or structuring my relationship with a business development person?
No, I like it. We have a small company, and basically I was tasked with many different hats and doing many different things. And my ultimate job is sales, which generate revenue. And the more we sell, the more we make, obviously. So it got to a point where I was doing so many things, it was taking away from my actual job. And I wouldn't say hurting the company, but we weren't growing the way we should because I wasn't able to do what I need to do to make money. So we hired someone that basically would take over like the LinkedIn email marketing and blasts, and also like Google AdWords to help boost our business from a marketing standpoint. And those were all things basically that I was doing prior, probably taking maybe a good 10 hours a week or more out of my day, out of my week. And now that gave me more time to sell. What we found too, and I wish John was still up here because, he said someone can't do what he does because, whatever. At the beginning of the week, we give this guy topics that we want him to discuss and do. One of the things he did was he changed the format of how we put stuff out. It looks way more professional now. It looks way better. So how we were doing it before worked, but he improved how we're doing things, which that alone has led to more leads, more sales. We've had any conference we go to, any place I visit, they always talk about how great our LinkedIn looks. And that's all because of this guy who we hired. The return on investment from hiring him has been great. I mean, we're making way more than obviously we pay this guy to do it. So it's been a win-win for us. It's really helped us to give me more time to do what I need to do. And every time we give him a topic, he gives us a draft before it goes live. Now this is important because this guy he's a Mexican guy. His English doesn't always transfer properly. So we really need to look at every single line before sending it out. And there are typos and things like that we find that we make it, we make it the way we want it. There's some inaccuracies we find, we change that, but we always have final say on what goes out. And, that only takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes every time he sends something over. So, it really helps us from a time standpoint. And yeah, I think everything you said, Tom, is correct. And, if you get in sync the way we are with this guy, I think, it'll only be a benefit for you.
I think thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. I mean, who doesn't love being told that they're right? So I'm always a fan of hearing that, but also a fan because it's good to know that as I take these steps to grow Talex Media, that it seems like I'm at least on the right path, right? Which is always nice.
Hey, Tom, I want to tell you you're right because I know Dom never does. So, I may be buddies with Dom, but, I listen to you guys enough. You don't get enough credit from Dom. So you're right, Tom.
Here we go. I was just about to say something nice about Jim. I was going to say how I mentioned Lynn is like eyes and ears, and I bring her in on every project. Like me and Jim are like that too, where we're so close that like we were filming a teaser trailer a few years ago for this Quadfather that we were doing with Brian. And Jim was one of the guys that like Jim isn't he's in sales. He's not in the business of making movies or productions or anything like that. And I was like, well, I need you to be here. And he's like, well, just be here, like, and it was like, we filmed it. I think we went in at midnight and filmed overnight, and I just wanted him there as somebody that has my back, and we do a turkey drive and things like that, and put out hundreds of turkeys every year. And it's because, and Jim's like, he's there, and elevates it and takes it to the next level. So having people that have your back beside you at all times is thankful. Now, I got a side question. I want to sidebar all this. You guys are being too nice to everybody. I want to tell you something I hate real quick. And if anybody could help me ease this problem. I hate that it gets dark at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Is there a place in the world that it doesn't get dark at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock? Like, I mean, I know, Tom, you were in Alaska and there's times where it's light like 24 hours a day, but is there a place in the world where there isn't like daylight savings and I could go like at 7 o'clock and ride my bike year round? So please, Tom, go on, and then anybody else.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of things. First, before I address that
go on.
question, I just want to say too, to a point that Jim brought up, when he's talking about their relationship with the guy that they've hired to help them with their LinkedIn profile and generating sort of awareness, brand reputation, things like that on LinkedIn. It's always faster. It's always faster to edit than it is to draft, right? And I think a lot of people miss that when it comes to, hiring someone or hiring a VA to create drafts for you, or right. I'm not even talking about managing your social media. I'm just talking about creating drafts or helping you, create posts, right? It's always faster to edit than it is to draft from scratch. So just bear that in mind. Like, it could be a worthwhile investment in terms of time savings, right? And better allocation of man hours and better efficiency for your time use to have somebody else do the drafting part of it that takes more time. And then you just go in, do the edits before it goes out live online. So just something to think about there that I wanted to hit. And Dom, to answer your question, I just want to give you like a very basics sort of basic geography / astrophysics lesson.
Okay, this sounds like you're being an ass, but go on.
Yeah, there is a place in the world,
on.
right, where, in fact, many places in the world, where it is not dark early in the winter, and that's called the equator, right? If you go anywhere around the globe along the equator, right, then the day and the night are equal year round, because the distance at the equator from the sun doesn't change very much, right? Season to season. The reason why our days are shorter in the winter, right? And it's colder in the winter, and the days in the northern hemisphere, and the days are longer in the summer and it's warmer in the summer, is because of our proximity to the sun, because the earth is tilted on its axis, right? And during the summer months we are closer to the sun, and during the winter months we are further away. It's I don't know, basic geography and astrophysics, but yeah, go to the
I don't
equator.
know, man. I've been to Jamaica. I've been Florida's south from here. I'm in Pittsburgh, Florida's south, and I'm telling you, when I was in Florida, 6 o'clock, dark as can be. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Dom, does the equator run through Florida?
It's a lot closer.
It's closer,
Jamaica.
but it's not. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's lighter more than it's dark. That doesn't exist anywhere in the world. That always changes with seasons. But at the equator, it is roughly light for 12 hours a day and roughly dark for 12 hours a day every single day of the year, within a couple of minutes of each other all year round.
See, Empress knows. Empress in the comments, Empress says Ecuador, Cusina, Quito, Ecuador. Quito, Ecuador. Okay, somebody's trying to sell. I'm going to read some comments. Somebody's trying to sell. If you are interested. Oh, here,
Tom,
somebody we've not.
Do you know what Ecuador means?
Ecuador. It's a country, right?
Yeah. Do you know why it's called Ecuador?
Well, it's close to the equator.
Yeah. Because the equator runs through it.
Come on, let me read my comments here. Okay. Somebody says, so we get comments from time to time, and anybody wants to comment on LinkedIn or anything. Dave says, hello. He lived in Malta. It was like that. But Coach Richard says, it's interesting because we weren't talking about this. He says we can invest $200 with him to get $3,400 in 3 trading days. John Jay had to run. Julie asked if back to our subject that we were talking about, growing, she says, is there a control issue we deal with when offloading responsibilities? I would think so. I grew up
talked about that.
Yeah, I grew up in a family business, and Dad didn't want to give up anything. You know?
Yeah, we talked about that before. I think before Julie got in the room.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now let's go to, we got Joe here. We lost one person because I was talking too much. So Joe, growing your business, growing your staff. You have any thoughts on that? Go on.
Oh, that's the hurdle that I'm currently having to challenge. So I'm going out to fundraising events more to find team members than I am to go fundraise. Trying to find other people that want to work on projects.
Okay, what kind of projects you talking, and how do you go about it? I mean, how do you grow? I mean, are you just trying to network and say, hey, let's do this together? Are you, is it a piece of the business? Are you paying them? What's your thoughts?
A little bit of all, but can't afford to pay a salary. Every other person that I wanted to co-found with went and got a job for $150,000 a year. So they kind of hard to justify that payment when it's a startup. So what I'm finding is most people are working on things at night on a second project while they're doing their existing day job. And this is everything from the startup community non-for-profits that are showcasing all the startups to the startups that are within the community.
Gotcha, Joe, man. Well, I put up, and it's a plug, but not a real plug, but I put up in the top Creative Con. It's a networking event for creatives. So there's a link up there. There's ticket opportunity. It's like networking on steroids. So that's one of the things. You can check that out. Anybody that hasn't. We had Brian spoke there last year. Tom spoke there. Julie's the founder. Chris has helped running it. Dave, you were coming up. I said yes to come up. You said you had a question. So it could help you, but I like the idea of networking and meeting as many people as you can. And who knows, maybe somebody brings another resource to your team. Okay, good. I see Dave's going to try to come up and answer this question. So hold on here. Okay, and then we got show and tell soon. So maybe we should go to show and tell before Dave. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, let's go to show and tell while we're waiting for Dave to get up on stage here, and then yeah.
And I watch Dave's videos, so if you can figure out how to bring him up, his hand is raised. There's hand raising.
Well, now I don't. Oh, okay, yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I'll invite him up. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple. I've been refinishing. I'm working on finishing my basement. As you can see, if anybody sees behind me, there is always a lot of pictures behind me. I value memorabilia. I used to have a restaurant called Icons. The icons were the pictures on the tables, the pictures on the walls, the sports heroes and things like that. So this is Rocco Mediate. Rocco Mediate is from my hometown. He's a golfer. I met him one time, and man, his hands were big. You would think a golfer isn't such a big guy. His legs were big, his hands were big. I was like, his forearms were huge. And so he took Tiger Woods to this is a local guy, regular old Joe, course pro. He once took Tiger Woods to extra holes, overtime. I don't know what you call it in golf, to extra like overtime in the US Open. And this guy, he gave it his best, and he ended up losing the Tiger in the additional holes. But for that one day, that one moment, he was as good as the greatest player, one of the greatest players to ever live. So you never know. On that day, at that moment, you give it your best. When your time is right, when you put in the effort. This guy, he had that moment. And right below is a picture of my mom and my dear wife that was on the wall too. So that's what you got. 3 of the greatest. So that's my show and tell today.
I mean, I like that because like it's one of those things that just hammers home the point, right? That you always have the potential for the performance of a lifetime, right? And I think that's what that's what that demonstrates, right? Is even if there's somebody out there who is better than you at your given profession or or better than you, in your given industry, that doesn't mean that you can't compete with them, right? That maybe they're consistently better than you. Maybe they've been doing it a little bit longer. Maybe they have a slightly different approach, but that doesn't mean you can't deliver the performance of a lifetime, and that you can't compete on the same level. So I think it goes to show that, one of the things that I think separates, there's tons of things that separate, people like Tiger Woods or sort of Michael Jordan, who are the sort of goats of their sports or their games. But the thing that is similar is that they're considered that because they consistently deliver performances of a lifetime, right? So just because you can't consistently deliver that doesn't mean it's totally out of your reach all the time. So if you just keep working towards it, eventually there's an opportunity you can get there, and maybe get there more than once, right? I feel like maybe that was the highlight of his professional golfing career, was that performance at that particular US Open. But I bet you he's played a lot of really good rounds of golf before and after that. And that wasn't a fluke. It's because he put in the work, he put in the time, and he kept working at it. So yeah, I think that was a good show and tell. And it looks like we've got Dave up on stage now. So let's see if we can.
I just want to sidebar, Tom. Your explanation was great, and I wish I would have said that when I was showing my pictures. So well done. Okay, Dave, I watch your videos. A Daily Stoic. What do you got going on, Dave? And Dave's getting into coaching. He's working on his content. So what do you got for us, Dave?
Yeah, I guess it's more of a question for the room. So I'm trying to, because I know you guys were talking about kind of marketing a little bit earlier, of trying to put it out there. And when Willie was saying, yeah, he puts out like 4 to 18 pieces of content a day, I'm struggling to just trying to get out one a day on all the platforms kind of thing. So my question is this, because I do a free men's group as kind of like another marketing kind of way. What interesting or novel or unique marketing approaches or reach out approaches or networking approaches have you tried that have been successful? Maybe not necessarily that cost money, but maybe are just more kind of time for money. Because I'm just a solo entrepreneur and I have no money, so I have to do everything as cheaply and efficient. The biggest gift I have is time. So how can I effectively use it? Or what are some interesting strategies you've tried that have led to results? That's my question.
Okay, Julie's raising a hand or high-fiving you. I never understand, so we'll go with
I'm
Julie
raising my
first.
hand.
Okay, it looks so much like a high five. So
it's a high five too.
Okay, go on, Julie. Give Dave some answers.
Well, I'm going to give one that I really, really love, and for the most part, it's free. Join meetups. Go to meetup.com. Find different tribes there and start networking. There's something more powerful about doing it, even though a lot of them are on Zoom. Doing that IRL as opposed to just posting, because you get that instant connection, if you will. So meetups.com. Hope you try it out, Dave.
Okay, let's go around the room before we get to wrap up, and let's just see really. So Dave, the question is ways to network. Is that your thought? Or,
yeah, ways to network or market your business, or to kind of like for my coaching business, or just ways to network and market yourself, not necessarily with the traditional ads or posts. What are some unique or novel ways that you've done it? And Julie, I actually do have a meetup group where I do that with my own Zoom thing that I put in a lot of places. So I love that idea.
Okay, so I'll go. Just why not start a podcast or be a guest on podcast, or to get your message out to more people, meet more people. You need to meet more people. Okay, Chris, what do you got? Chris, Joe, Brian, and then we'll go to Tom. Chris, you heard the question. Go on.
So yeah, meetups on Clubhouse obviously is good. There's various rooms on Clubhouse that you can go and network, but then also learn from other folks in the room. Those are probably my go-tos. And I just think really putting yourself in the room with the people that you want to work with is key. You should come to CreativeCon, just saying.
That's good advice. Okay, Joe, you were asking the question, but also, have you thought of any creative ways that you've got yourself out there over the years?
In the last year and a half, I go to one of the startup community events in my area, and then that's how you hear about the next one. Because the non-for-profit that puts on, let's call it Mini Bar, then introduces you to beta.mn, which then has their own events. They got 4 events a year, and then they tie you to another non-for-profit community that's hosting events around the startup. And then you end up at a whole week worth of startup events put on by one non-for-profit, but overlaps with everyone that's in the community that participates. So go to one event and find out what the next event is.
There you go. Thank you, Joe. That's a good one, man. Mr. Swift, who's always out networking in different ways. Really, Swift is everywhere. So that's what. Go on, Brian. What you have any creative thoughts on how to meet new people or get yourself out there?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of online ones, a lot of online groups, which are good because in terms of time management, online groups are pretty good, and you can find them almost anywhere. Most of the ones I found are through Facebook. And I don't know if it was on your last episode or where I was, but somebody started going out to breakfast and just blasting, hey, I'm going to be at this restaurant at 7:00. I'm an entrepreneur, and if you want to come out to breakfast and just have a conversation, come out. And they said, the first couple times they did it, they got nobody, and then it was 2 people, then it was 4 people, and that really grew. And I think it's something I want to try. 1, I love breakfast. 2, it gives you a reason to kind of get out. And I thought it was just kind of a novel idea. And then all they did was just kind of post it on the social media. Hey, if you're in the area, you're an entrepreneur and you want to get out and do little networking or brainstorming, come on out to breakfast. I thought that was kind of a neat idea, and I think I'm going to give it a try. I'm complete.
Swifty, I like that one. And I'm in a breakfast group that meets periodically, but I will tell you how I met Tom early in the pandemic. We were in a group, meetup group with a bunch of guys just talking about when we were in complete lockdown. But there was always 10 guys talking and stuff like that, and we'd go back and forth via Zoom. But Tom used to host a room, he'd be it was called a whiskey or something like that. Have whiskey with me, or what was it, Tom? And sometimes I'd go.
It was a daily happy hour.
Daily happy hour, and I would go. Period. I didn't go a lot, but every once in a while it fit in my schedule. I'd go, and maybe that was a day it was just me and Tom there. Tom was sitting looking at the camera, drinking whiskey, and then we just hung out for a while, and that's how we got to know each other. So, Tom, you answer the question. What do you got, man?
Yeah, so I think for me, answering this question really kind of comes down to fundamentals, right? And I think one of the things that often people don't think of when they talk about how to market their business, I think at the end of the day, what you're really talking about is how do you communicate most effectively with your audience, right? How do you get them or help them understand the value proposition that you're bringing to the table, why you started your business, why you get up every day to do it, and why they should be and how the work that you do can help them. And so I always encourage people to kind of go back to basics and focus on my best advice that I can give, which is to lead with value. Right. It's something everybody in here has heard me say. Dom's heard me say, I don't know how many times at this point. But if you lead with value, if you approach marketing interactions and networking interactions from the perspective of working towards helping the people you're talking to as your main focus, then you're going to do a better job of conveying to them the value that you bring to the table and how that value can help them accomplish the goals that they've set forward for themselves. So I think that's sort of my best advice when it comes to how to market your brand or your business, grow your network, is to always go into every interaction asking the question, how can I help this person or these people, right? If you approach it from that perspective, I think you're going to do a better job messaging around your brand and your business. You're going to help them understand the value that your brand and you bring to the table. You're going to differentiate yourself, because why you do what you do is always unique to your business. So you're going to differentiate yourself in your marketplace, in your industry, and you're going to help them understand. And they're more likely to want to engage you for the help that you can provide, right? If you demonstrate to them off the bat that you can help them achieve their goals, then they will continue to engage you to receive that help, right? They will look for other opportunities to work with you. So that's kind of always my best advice. And I think that advice actually extends to what we were talking about today and what we started this conversation with, talking about growing your team and scaling your business, that you should be looking for people that align with you on those values. When it comes to scaling your brand, to hiring new employees, to growing your team, to growing your brand and scaling your business, you should always look at values first and make sure that the people that you bring on, the team members that you bring on, are aligned with you on the values that you hold dear, and that believe in the mission that you put forward for your brand or your business. And every business should have a mission, by the way. I believe that too. So make sure that whoever you're bringing on to help you grow your brand, grow your business, scale your team, further your mission, believes in that mission. And I think you dramatically increase the likelihood that you will find success with those team members if you do that. Proof will be in the pudding. I'll let you guys know how it goes, but I believe that will work. And I'm hopeful for the future because of it. So anyway, that's all I got for this week. Thank you everybody for being here with us yet again in Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate your thoughts, your insights, your opinions, the things that you bring to the table, being here, being a part of the conversation. You guys are the reason why Dom and I show up every Wednesday to do this. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this over and over and over again every Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, right here live across the internet. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.